I just want to discuss Brandon Beane's plan of action here for this offseason, and it really starts with correcting the cap space. We have so much cap that we need to correct, and Brandon Beane has done it in the past, and I think we're all very confident that he will do it again. In my previous videos, we discussed all the players that are up for restructures that would literally get us under the cap for the 2024 season. But the question is, we still need to make more moves. I mean, whether we restructure Trey White, Matt Milano, even Josh Allen, and all these big names on our team, possibly Von Miller, a lot of players on this team can be restructured, but even Stephon Diggs. But kicking the can down the road could ultimately bite us down the line. And the reason why I say that is because we need to pay attention to the players that ultimately want to be here. For example, the rumors around Stephon Diggs. Like, does Stephon Diggs want to be here long term? And I think he does. I think really listening to his conversations, I know from an outside perspective, people might not think that. And then you look at the comments of his brother and all these things. But when you listen to what Stephon Diggs is actually saying, when you turn on the film and you see Stephon Diggs on the sidelines, slapping the players up, being the ultimate teammate for this Buffalo Bills team, and he's slapping up offensive players, he's slapping up defensive players, he's just being an ultimate teammate. And I really think Stephon Diggs could see him here long-term and retiring as a Buffalo Bill. Now, the thing is, we need to correct the cap space, right? And I think there are some additional players on this team that we could maybe part ways with and ultimately save money. And one player that's still on this team, and one area that I'm focusing on, is special teams. The Bills have allocated so many resources and so much money to this special teams unit, and one player in particular is Tyler Matakevich. Now, I think Tyler Matakevich is still one of the best special teams players in the NFL, but we're paying him a premium. We're paying him a premium. So really, like, I just don't see how it's ultimately helping us when we're paying players that much. Like, we need to start relying on rookies. We need to start relying on the depth of this team to fill those positions so we don't have to carry so many bloated salaries on special teams. Even bringing in guys like Nyheim Hines, right? I think Nyheim Hines was going to help us offensively, but he was going to be a kick and punt returner. And you got to keep in mind, like, we had Deontay Hardy too. I just think we're putting a little bit too much value on special teams. But other players on this team that I think the Bills could maybe consider moving away from. I did bring up Deontay Hardy, but in my last video, I did discuss how Ronald Curry spending all that time, 4 seasons with Deontay Hardy having the best season under Ronald Curry with the New Orleans Saints. So I think we're definitely going to be trying to get the most out of Deontay Hardy in 2024. So I don't see us parting ways with Hardy, but I do see a lot of the restructures going down. I do see the Bills having to maybe not have as good as depth that we had in previous years, including backup quarterback to Josh Allen. I mean, we had Kyle Allen, we had Case Keenum, we had Mitch Trubisky, you know, even A.J. McCarron. So I really believe the Buffalo Bills need to start figuring this out, right? And finding ways that we could ultimately save quite a bit of money. So after that, after the cap space, after we get through this entire mess, which I totally believe the Buffalo Bills are going to do, you know, maybe the Buffalo Bills, going back, we might consider trading a player too, right? There's always a possibility of potentially not even restructuring, but trading one of our foundational pieces. Like, if we traded Trey White, if we traded Matt Milano, if we traded someone off of this team, even Von Miller, Stephon Diggs, you know, it's going to be crazy depending on their contracts and how much we would actually save. Like, it would break my heart to see them traded. But moving on from the cap space, this is now free agency. And we have to keep in mind the Bills are going to be filling the holes on offense, defense, special teams via free agency. And if we can bring in an equal player in talent and for a more reasonable price, I think we should do that and then reconsider the player that we have and move on. It's just another way to save money too. So the Buffalo Bills really need to focus on free agency. The positions that I'm eyeing up here for free agency is clearly wide receiver. I think it'd be smart to supplement that hole before the NFL draft, so we're not stretching in the NFL draft and selecting a player at the wrong moment. Another position here I think the Bills should ultimately consider is backup tackle on the offensive side of the football. A swing tackle, like a Ty Ndecky type that could play right, that could play left, that could play behind Deion Dawkins, play behind Spencer Brown. Even a running back, right? I mean, Ty Johnson, free agent. Like, we literally only have James Cook on this team right now. So I know Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, those are free agents out there, but how much money are the Bills ultimately going to save to be able to bring one of those players in unless they come here for a crazy reasonable price? So I think James Cook, clearly the #1 back here in Buffalo, but how are we going to have that 1-2 punch? Who's that second punch going to be? Now, on the defensive side of the football, if we're not able to retain Micah Hyde, I think it'd be very wise to bring in a safety for Bills Mafia. Now, this does bring into a debate here where we might consider moving Christian Benford to Micah Hyde's spot at safety, potentially Kaiir Elam at Micah Hyde's spot at safety. I think the transition might be a little bit harder for Kaiir Elam. Plus, Christian Benford, Kaiir Elam, they have not necessarily been paid. And I know they would probably like to be paid as a corner in the NFL versus a safety. So you have to look at a player like Trey White. Trey White has already gotten paid. He's already earned his money. He's coming off 2 injuries, an Achilles, a ACL. You know, how fast and quick and everything, how's he going to come back? So, I mean, crazier things have happened where they've moved better corners in the NFL to safety, and it could very well be that Trey White moves to Micah Hyde's spot at safety. I think that'd be absolutely wild to see. But I do agree, like, free agency, safety, very, very important. I think linebacker is still very, very important too. Tyrell Dotson is a free agent. You know, Balin Spector, Terrell Bernard, Dorian Williams, Matt Milano. I mean, it's definitely a solid group, but the youngsters on this team really, really need to progress. So now getting into this year's NFL draft, the Buffalo Bills, I think, are definitely going to be addressing wide receiver. I think it would make sense to address it running back too, to have that 1-2 punch with another rookie running back instead of paying a bloated salary to a running back. Also tight end, you know, Quentin Morris, free agent. I think it would be wise to bring in a big blocking tight end. So then we can consolidate things. We don't need to bring in an extra offensive lineman either, or even a tackle, a swing tackle. We could literally bring in a tight end, a Darnell Washington type that was coming out last year. That's just like an extension of the offensive line. It's a little bit faster than a tackle that can catch, and do a little bit of everything. But I appreciate you guys all so much. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit like, subscribe. That's how you're going to support me for my efforts for this channel. Also, check the link in the description for Course Careers. They have partnered with employers in the United States. Once you pay and pass one of their courses, they're going to get hired right away, about $70,000 to $80,000 starting out fully remote. Appreciate you. Hit like, subscribe, and go Bills.